Ciao a tutti, io sono Dorothy, and thank you so much for joining the channel today. Today we're having an interview with a colleague, Erasmus Scholar. So she's doing the same program that I'm doing now, but she's in the current badge or the new badge, and I'll be completing very soon. So we had a conversation over Zoom, and I'm here to share it with you. So without much delay, let's go straight into the video.
So guys, as I already said in my introduction, I have a special person here who will be sharing with us her scholarship journey. She has been a good friend to me. She's currently in the current batch of ACMA student. So I have with me here Regina. Thank you so much for joining us, Reggie.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, for having me here.
Where are you now?
Right now, I'm in Thessaloniki, Greece.
Oh, second semester. How is it so far?
At least it's less stressful, as compared to the first semester. We really go for classes on Fridays, so you have the whole of Fridays to rest.
Wow! I'm so jealous. For us, we're good every day.
Charlie, don't be jealous yet, though.
Anyway, so let's go straight to our conversation today. And I want to thank you again for making time for us, me and my viewers. Thank you. So, of course, we're going to start with you telling us a little about yourself and what like organizations are you associated with. I know you're a very busy woman. You're a big woman. So tell us about all of those organizations then.
Okay, so first of all, just as you mentioned, my name is Regina Dumaku, and I'm an Erasmus Scholar, archaeological material science, and currently I'm doing my second semester in Thessaloniki, Greece. And I must say, I was a MasterCard Foundation Scholar at Camfed, Ghana, at the university. To be the president for the Legon chapter, the University of Ghana Legon chapter, and the national president.
Oh, well. I said
yes.
yeah.
And then, I am also the project manager for the Builders Foundation. Okay.
Oh.
Yes, the Builders Foundation is an organization that seeks to redefine rural Africa. But because we are in Ghana, we've started in rural communities in Ghana for now. But the aim is to go Africa, to redefine rural Africa. But now we are starting small, so Ghana.
Oh, yes. It's actually really commendable that you're starting from your home where you were born. Yeah.
Exactly. So that is, And should I add the fact that I also did my national service at the Department of Archaeology?
Yes, very necessary. Please tell us. It's very necessary because that's also where that department is bringing out like a lot of very, very, very passionate and hardworking people. So yes, that also Department of Archaeology.
Yes.
Of Ghana. So yes, thank you for telling us all of that. So now, the serious. We have come straight. We are not even waiting. We're going straight to the conversation. So we all have like our own personal scholarship stories. I've shared my own to my viewers, those who have watched my videos, and they know that everybody's journey is different. So we want to hear you. How has the journey been so far? We spoke about the MasterCard, now an Erasmus Scholar. So we want to hear all the details. How has it been?
Well, okay. So we are focusing on the Erasmus scholarship now, right?
Yes.
So when I completed the University of Ghana, I don't know, but our batch, everything, I feel like everything was delayed because under normal circumstances, people do their graduation somewhere in November, but we did ours in January. And it took a while for the certificates and transcripts to come. And during that time, I felt like a lot of the scholarship opportunities had their deadlines almost ending. And I felt like most of the important ones had their deadlines ending already. So the thing I did was I started a list of all scholarships that I have heard or I am interested in or people have told me. Then I started checking the deadlines, but I figured, oh, the deadlines have ended then things. So I was like, so me, what am I going to do? So I started planning for the following year. I was like, okay, maybe this year is not for me. Maybe the following year I can do it. But then I was still, I mean, even though I knew that the deadlines of some of the prestigious scholarships have ended, I was still like, okay, let me just check what's up. Let me just check. And so I started checking. I started going to my boss. Yes. So at the University of Ghana, when I was doing my national service, I was working for Professor Wazi.
Okay.
Yes, I was his teaching assistant. So I started going
Professor
to him.
Apple.
Yes. So I started going to him and I was like, so Prof, I want to do this though, but most of the scholarships they've ended. So what do you think? And then he started giving me some recommendations. He was like, oh, don't worry. You check this school, check this school. This school has a good laboratory. This school has this nonsense. But as I said earlier, and then one time I heard someone making a call and the person was like, oh, Erasmus Mundus, Erasmus. I was like, I've never heard this one before, but let me just, try. So I saw Google, I typed Erasmus Mundus, and apparently there is a whole catalog, like a whole catalog of programs and things. So I went there, I used the filters, I was looking for archaeology. And then I saw one program, archaeological material science. And this is a very tricky thing. Like I saw it though. So I just went to the website of that particular program. I bookmarked the website.
Okay.
And then I left that Erasmus site then. So I was just working towards getting my transcript, my certificate and everything. And then after some few, it was like 2 weeks or 1 week, I went back to the Erasmus catalog to check the program I saw, and it wasn't there. And I was like, what? And I forgot I had bookmarked the website. So I was like, I started consulting some of my colleagues. Well, they were not my colleagues, one of my friends from the department, his name is Lee. And I was like, I saw this thing on Erasmus catalog, but now it is not there. And then he was telling me, maybe they've removed it, maybe they are not sponsoring again or something. I was like, this thing. So I was so frustrated until I think after some few days, I was just going through my Google history and then I chanced on that particular bookmark and I was like, oh, this is it. I found it. So I went straight to the site. And one thing about me is, even if I feel like I don't satisfy most of the criteria, I just want to be like, let me just apply and see what will happen, you see. Yeah, and besides, I mean, that program, they wanted people from archaeological background or science background, and I have an background. So I was like, and then I applied. And then I went to my boss. I asked for a recommendation letter. I wrote my motivational letter. I gave it to him to read through. He read through. He made some corrections. I edited them. I sent them to like 3 other doctors and professors to read through. They all read, they made some corrections. They gave it back. And you know the funny thing?
Oh, tell us.
Apparently, the reason the program was actually taken off the Erasmus catalog was because that year, they were not so sure they were going to get the funding because yes, it had ended and they were not so sure. I think that is why they took it off the Erasmus catalog. But I didn't know it was because of that. I actually didn't know why they even took it off. So I applied. And then later, I started reading like after I had submitted my application. It was then that I was like, wait, let me take my time and read this thing well. And then I was reading the thing and I figured out the funding was not really certain that. So they were like, if we secure funding, then we are going to give scholarship to this number of people. Then things. It was there that I started getting scared. Then I started telling people like me and my professor that, see, this thing, I know I'm going to get it, but these people, they are not sure if they have scholarship
funding.
or not. And that was when I was so worried, like, oh my God. Like I kept talking to this particular people. I'm like, I'm sure I'm going to get it. As for the admission, I am sure. Like I can feel it with the bones. That's it.
Yours.
But the scholarship thing is the problem. And then after some long time of waiting, then since I got the email I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, congratulations, and oh my God, you cannot imagine how happy I was. So, but I mean, before that particular scholarship, as I mentioned earlier, because most of the deadlines were up, I was looking at chevening the deadline. It was left with like a week to the deadline, and I couldn't do anything. I didn't even get the mindset to even read the requirements and things because I felt there was too much pressure. And then I also saw some other ones, but the deadlines were very close, and I felt like I didn't have the cool mind or like my stability to just read through the requirements and all. So far, after my national service, the only graduate program I applied to was this particular one and some other one which had no scholarship at University of Exeter. So I had, and I was now looking for scholarships. Like, can you imagine? And as at that time, the scholarships, they've already ended. So now I was like, okay, it is concrete. I am not going because there is no scholarship. And there is no way I am going to afford a scholarship outside Ghana. Like, I'm going to afford a school outside Ghana. So let me just forget that one and concentrate on this one. So I applied once to the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree, and God being so good, I got it.
So this is your first time, your first application, your only application for a scholarship. Then you got it. So it means that your essay, everything you did was like point. We'll be talking about that, but I want to let's say reiterate on the point you made about the deadlines. So with the Chevening scholarship, we checked, but the deadline was too soon, and you know that you will not be able to gather all the documents, right? So then you decided not to. So that is why I always say that when you are looking for a scholarship, check the deadline first. Because imagine if you did not look at the deadline, you start gathering documents, and the whole process of writing motivation letters is not even a joke.
I tell you.
It's not a funny thing. And so you decide to write it, and then you find out that the program, the deadline has passed, and then you are not able to do the application. It just break you down. So the deadlines, you have to check the deadlines first and make sure you have enough time to do it. So with the Erasmus scholarship, when was the deadline? When was the deadline, and how close to the deadline was your application done?
So the thing is, during my time, the deadline was like, I think 1st April. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that was the deadline. It was 1st April. And I saw it somewhere in January.
Okay.
Yes, from the Erasmus catalog. That was when I saw it. So I just read through. The first time I saw it, I read through, but it wasn't like very rigorous. So I knew what they were actually asking for. I saw, okay, they needed a transcript, they needed a sample writing, they needed motivational letter and things. So I just put down the requirement for motivational letter. Yes, I bookmarked the page, and then I started drafting my motivational letter. So like January to March. It was that time I was certain that, okay, now my motivational letter is set. Let me go back to the site and then see the other ones. And then that was when I went back to the site. It was not there. So I was like, so these people, I finished writing my motivational letter and now the thing is not there. It was crazy for me, but yeah, it took me like 3 months. And then I had to take it to a lot of people to review it. And yeah, it took a long time for me to finish my motivational letter because I had never written a motivational letter before until I started applying to this particular one. And so I had a lot of, like, I'll talk to some of my colleagues at work and they'll be like, SOP. And I'm like, what is SOP? And then other people will be like, this, like, I mean, people were mentioning a lot of names, but what I saw on the website was motivational letter. So like I was always bent on motivational letter. I mean, I don't know anything or something. So now I had to research what is the difference between SOP. And I figured it was actually statement of purpose. I was like, So that
It's more or less the
yeah.
same. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I started looking for the similarities and differences and how to go about the motivational letter thing.
Mm-hmm.
And get, oh, it is just like convincing someone that you actually deserve something. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. What's your motivation? That's simple. What's your motivation?
Exactly. And I mean, they needed just 500 words.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it was brief like that, though.
Very brief. Mm-hmm.
And at first I had like 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
You have a lot to say.
because I need to convince them that I deserve the thing.
Scholarship. So yes, hey.
Hey, Shay.
I understand because even with me, it was the same thing. It was my first application for any
Yeah.
graduate or any scholarship. Even I think after
Yeah.
school, I was not really keen of what to do. It was because I was at the department. This same me and Muni,
Ah.
this same person told me about a scholarship, and then I applied to three of the programs, and for this one, I sent my motivation letter to many people. Hey, and I was always editing it. The thing is, when you write your essay, you can write your essay, you feel like, oh, this is good. But
Yeah.
for me, I used to print it. The department's printer suffered. I used to print it, and I go to the museum because I was assigned at the museum, and I just sit down.
Yes.
No one is around. I read it aloud, and I see that this is not good. I have to start again.
Oh my
I
God.
do that to myself even before I let another person read it because I feel like
Yeah.
I don't want to send something that is really bad and then I'll have to
Yeah.
give the person a lot of work. So yes, the writing a motivation letter and for me too, I was always on YouTube looking at the difference. What's the difference between this and this? What's the difference between this? I listen to people share their tips and tricks and I put all inside my essays. So
Yeah.
I really get
Yeah.
the feeling. And it was so exciting to see that email. For me, I was very happy that I got the selection for the interview email, that first email. I was so excited. I'm like, now this is it. This is where I have to convince them the more because my transcript has spoken, my CV has spoken, my motivation now is B. How I have to
Exactly.
like make them know that I really do deserve this. So
Exactly.
you've spoken a little about writing a strong application. But now you got the interview notification, the email, and you had to prepare for your interview. So how was the preparation? And do you remember some of the questions that came? At least let's give some support to the listeners.
Now, my entire application, the most funny part, like the funniest part is actually my interview, the part where I was invited for an interview and when I was actually granting the interview. When I got because of course I realized, well, these people have not secured their funding yet. So I don't even know if I am going to be interviewed on a self-funding basis or on a scholarship basis. I just went to this quote unquote my mentor, Ni, and then I was like, okay, so I've interview. And then it was then that he told me, but Dorothy. And I was like, which Dorothy? I was like, oh, she was also doing her national service here and things. And she's actually on the program. And then he started saying a lot of things. I will give you her number. You should text her. And she give you tips. And I was like, oh, really? Like somebody is doing the course that I'm actually applying for. So I just texted this Dorothy. And then I figured it was you. And oh my God, like you were so helpful. You gave me at a point you shared with me your YouTube channel, and then I spent like almost the entire day looking through, like watching these videos and then taking notes of the points that you were making. I had to watch other YouTube videos and things. I had to practice in the mirror and all that. So my interview, the thing is, I wasn't, because I've been in a lot of interviews. I've interviewed a lot of people. I've been on a scholarship panel where I actually interview people who want scholarship at the master institution. So I wasn't really scared, But also, this is like huge for me because if I don't pass this interview, then it means I really have to wait next year, which I didn't, because it wasn't my fault that I had to wait next year. But I was like, okay, but if I pass this interview too, then it means I don't really have to wait next year to go. So let's best. So like all my energy was into that. I really prepared. I was asking Dorothy a lot of questions. At some point, I even felt like she was going to get angry or something, but she never got. I mean, I'm saying she like it's another person.
It's another person. It's not me. It's another person.
But yeah, and then I felt like, well, I am very prepared. And this is why I said my interview was a funny thing. I was actually very prepared. I went to one of my lecturer's office, Dr. Mark, and then he gave me the office to myself with one of my friends, Benedicta. I kept practicing in front of Benedicta. She kept asking. So like I wrote for myself a set of questions. Okay, tell us about yourself. What do you think about this program? And I gave all to Benedicta, and Benedicta was asking me, okay, so tell us about yourself. Then I'll be sitting there. My name is Regina. This like I was practicing in front of her. And the time for the interview came, and these people, the interview was on Skype. Ready sitting by my computer like this. And my time was like 1:30. As at 1:40, these people have not sent me a link or have not even said anything about the interview. And I was just sitting there on my email waiting for the link to come. And then I think at around 1:45, I saw the link. I joined. Nobody was letting me in. I was so frustrated. Like I was very frustrated. After 30 minutes, the link opened and I met all these people I was supposed to do my interview with. I must say, the interview was very easy. Like, I don't know. After that interview, I kept telling people that I have never attended an easy interview like this. Maybe because I really prepared so much, or maybe I anticipated too much. Oh, it was very easy. And then it got to a point where I was supposed to like ask them if I had any question I should ask at least two. I had my two questions I wanted to ask. I asked the first one. They answered me fine, fine. The second one, I asked, and guess what? It was like, and at that time, my laptop was plug and play.
Oh, whoosh. Ghana, this great thing. Ghana.
Then you should come and see me running. Like I was running up and down looking for my phone to connect to. I didn't download Skype on my phone. So now I had to go and find internet because the Wi-Fi was gone too and there was no network. I had to be running up and down looking for internet to download Skype and things like. It took me almost 15 minutes. And then God being so good, I was able to get back online after 30 minutes. And then I quickly joined and then I told them, oh, I'm so sorry, but the lights went off. I had no internet and all. And they were like, oh, don't worry, we are done with the interview. Do you have any questions for us? I was like, no, I'm okay. And they're like, oh, don't worry, everything is fine. So I felt like, oh, at this point, all hope is lost because, sometimes if you attend some interviews and you make a slight mistake, and these people will be like, you are not serious, you should have prepared.
Yeah.
So that was what I was thinking. These people were thinking that, oh, they're not serious. You could have gotten extra one, you could have gotten a backup or something. So I wasn't really confident after the interview, even though it really went well and it was easy. I felt like the last part ruined everything. And I was just praying. I spoke to Nia, I spoke to Dorothy, I spoke to my professor. Everybody was saying, don't worry, everything is going to be fine. But in me, I felt like I ruined everything. You get it? And then the results of the interview came and I had 92, like over. And I was like, what? Like, oh my God, I was
Oh, you told me that I was so happy. Our time, they didn't let us know our grades. So I don't know where I fall. But then
yeah.
I think they did that. I think they did that because they were not still sure. I think even during the interview, they were not still sure if they were going to get the funding. So yes, they'll tell you your marks at least so that you know where you stand. And
Yeah.
I think I've also said before on my channel that the grades they give you, it depends on all your documents. Of course, your interview is a part of the whole marking scheme.
Oh,
As for your transcript, there's a mark allocated, your motivation letter, your recommendations, they all have marks allocated to it. So all of
yeah.
that comes together to give you a full mark, and then that puts you in a list, in a ranking. So that is how they do the cutoff point for selection of
Ah,
scholarship students, and then the rest they give them reserved list. They put them on the reserve
okay.
list. It's because of all of those marks. So when they do that, especially let's say you get 80, you think, oh, 80 is good, but then
Yeah,
the person before you has 81, and they are looking for
that's true.
just 10 people. You are the 11th person. That is where the line cuts you out. And some people
Yeah.
end up rejecting the scholarship. Maybe they've applied to multiple ones and they want to reject this one and go for this one. So that is
Yeah.
how it shifts. So all the time I say it, every part of your application is important because it all adds up to put you in a position. So
That's
if
true.
maybe you feel like, okay, I'm going to just work hard on my motivation letter, I'm going to neglect my CV, that is where your
Yeah,
grades will
that
go
is
down.
true. That's
So
very.
yes, thank you so much. You spoke about the interview, and I was really happy about. I was really happy. I wanted you to share that whole part of
Yeah.
how your interview went, the preparation, and all of that. Because share that, oh, I've got a scholarship, but they never share the story behind how somebody is there with you, practicing with you. People sacrifice for me.
Yeah.
It was Mr. Jari who left his office for me, the conservation lab, and
Mm.
I was there, and in this same name, he asked me my first question was like, if they ask you what's your personal and academic achievements, what would you say?
Mhm.
And I had not prepared for that question. I don't know why. I don't know why I did not prepare for it. I had prepared for everything else. So tell us about yourself. Why are you motivated to apply for this
Yeah.
program? That particular question just hit me. When he asked me that question, I just hit me, and I'm like, what should I say? And he answered it. He gave how he would answer it. Imagine, that was the first question when I sat down. He asked me, tell us about you.
Oh,
So for him, he was like academic um, achievement. At that time,
yeah.
I had written a thesis. I'd written a long essay for but I did not, my mind didn't go there. Sometimes where your mind is, it's not there. So you need somebody who is not under that pressure to bring your mind back home.
Yeah,
So he
exactly.
shared that with me, and then I was like, okay, so I can talk about my academic achievement as somebody who has been able to contribute to literature. Okay, okay. So then that was my first question already. That was my first
Oh
question.
my God.
I said it's fine, fine. And then
Of course.
we got, and we are here. We're here. The rest is
Wow.
history. And so
Yeah.
we would have to continue this later because we're running out of time. We'll have to come back. So this story I actually wanted to share with you. There was this time that I got an email and no subject, nothing. It wasn't just email, not even dear Dorothy or good afternoon.
Yes.
Straight, please, which was your GPA, the GPA that you got to apply for your program? Tell me so that I'll know if I can apply. Like, and
Just like that.
just like that. There are people who have actually sent me good, like good emails, like explaining everything, adding a motivation letter for me to at least review and give some pointers. I don't mind if people do that, but he just email me and ask me for my GPA. How do I owe that to you to tell you my
Yeah.
GPA? Like at least ask me, okay, what was my class? But then you just come and do that. And I feel that when people do that and you don't respond, they tag you as a very selfish person, a wicked person, because you did not help them. But then, what this email tells me already about the person is not serious. This is the honest thing. Because if you are serious, you are writing an email to somebody you don't know.
Of course.
You don't know. There's a format you're supposed to go look at. And sometimes too, I think I was watching College Pivot, and then they spoke about how people have professional emails. Like your email should have something, your name, your names, in fact. So if you can't find a document that you have submitted, they can easily find your email because that is your name. You put in this thing, texting number 1, texting number 2, and all of those things. This person that sent me that email, a similar professional email. I don't know why I didn't go to spam. I don't know why I didn't go to spam. And so why I said the story is I know that when people find out that you have a scholarship, there are people who really want to know how you get it and how you got it. There are people that have been applying for many, many years. And so we'll speak about those who have emailed you and some of the concerns or questions they've actually asked you, help them with. We can just address that briefly here. But then the main question I want to ask is, what was your trick? What was your trick? I know this is your first time, so you cannot compare to the previous one that this is what I did. And I think that because you've been a part of scholarship selection, you have been exposed to certain things that people have done that was wrong, and you advise yourself not to do those things. That's actually led us to this point. So, tell us what was the things that you did that you feel are different and can help somebody who's listening?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I think someone asked me the same question, that what was my trick in getting, because people really have stories of, Erasmus, I've applied for like several years and I've still not gotten. Yeah. So someone actually asked me what was my trick. And honestly, first of all, I feel like in the first place, it is the program that I chose. Okay. I mean, the whole of Ghana, it is just University of Ghana that does archaeology. So if if you want to like apply to the program that I applied to, archaeological material science, you either have to get a science background, have a science background, or an archaeological background. And I have an archaeological background. Okay. And if there is anyone going to compete with me, the person has to be from my department, because we are the only department that offers archaeology. Only one from my department. I felt like, okay, then in Ghana, I am the only one applying for this program.
That's with archaeology background. And yes, it's true.
Yes.
It is true.
Exactly. So I felt like that one gave me an upper hand. And I don't know if it did, but that is what I feel. And then again, my motivational letter and my... So, I mean, I didn't really hold any like, I was not like a course rep or general secretary or SRC president or something, but I did extracurricular activities. Okay. I mean, just as I mentioned, I was the president for my organization, Mastercard Foundation at Camfed. It was nothing related to academics. It was extracurricular. I mean, we were going for community projects. We were organizing projects in villages. We were enriching people's lives in our own small ways. You get it? Whilst I was still studying. So I felt like it also gave me an upper hand, because if anybody is offering scholarship and then there are lots of people with first class, and everything, and then I also come there with also my first class, but with like an additional advantage. So we were all studying together first class, all right. But I was doing this, I was going to villages, I was talking to people, I was doing advocacy programs and all. I feel like it gives me an upper hand over the person who really did nothing and only focused on the first class and the other high classes. You get it? Like that's also like the enrichment in my CV, because all the other activities I did I put everything in my CV and I make sure it was catchy.
Of
Like
course.
my CV, it was very, very catchy. I mean, you will look at my CV and the first thing is national president. You would want to know, wait, national president, like Ghana. Ghana, you get it. Yeah. So it catches your attention. So I felt like, first of all, my CV, honestly, I'm very proud of my CV. Like,
Ish.
yeah. One advantage I had was my CV because it has a lot of extracurricular activities, like a lot. But bear in mind, CV, I think they only want like 2 pages. Even if you've done 1,000 stuff, you have to make sure you capture everything into the 2 pages, and you make sure that the important things are highlighted. So you cannot talk about all your extracurricular activities without really talking about your education and stuff. So you have to capture important stuff. And I think that was what I did with the help of my other colleagues and mentors and professors. And my motivational letter as well. Actually, when I was actually preparing for my motivational letter, I didn't know that these people have not secured funding yet. All my motivational letter, I was telling them that I want the admission and I want the scholarship too.
Yeah.
The first part of my motivational letter, it was just the normal one. Oh, I write to seek an opportunity to be enrolled into this edition. And then my second paragraph, it was then that I was going to catch their attention that I need the scholarship. So I was telling, see, in Ghana, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And I know this program would give me this opportunity, it would give me this opportunity. But I don't have the money to go. Even if I get I cannot afford it. And I need to solve this particular problem. So I want your help financially to help me solve this particular problem. You get it? So I was telling them indirectly that I really need the admission, but I cannot do it if you guys don't sponsor me. Bear in mind, that time, I didn't know these people didn't have the funding. So
See, it was an act of faith, my dear. It was an act of faith to move. Because
exactly.
I remember my early videos. I spoke about how some programs, like they have a time that they are given to be rolled out. Then after that time, they are taken out of the catalog. So we had information that on the last batch, there's no batch coming again. And if there is, they're going to be paying, they're going to be self-funding. I actually even mentioned it in my video. So all of a sudden, I got a message from you that said interview. I'm like, people said there's no funding. No, how? What is happening? I went to check their websites. They keep on updating there. Once I saw something else, I'm like, they are doing interview. Let's do the interview too. Because the difficult, I think the most difficult part of being like applying for a scholarship is passing through the selection to interview. Because that one, they are not seeing your face, so all they see is your work. So that is the difficult part. Even though, of course, the interview also plays a very critical role. That's your grade and your achievements and all that you've done will bring you, as a friend will say, to the table of discussion.
Exactly.
So it's always something I like to say. I always will keep on saying that all your documents, they add up to bring it to a point. And so if you do not, and it's good you really spoke about your CV, because people would say that, I just have to focus with my academics. But your extracurricular activity also tells a story about yourself. I think for me, somebody used to call me a serial volunteer because every opportunity I got, anything that I could see that I could volunteer, I was joining. And I think it was because my first year, there was this careers in counseling class I went for. And they spoke about how people could improve their CV by volunteering and doing this. And I was this very shy person in senior high school, so I didn't run for any position. didn't do anything.
Yeah.
When people were fighting for grammar club president, and then
Charlie.
I was not doing it. So I felt like this university is my chance to create something for myself. So I volunteered. I
Yeah.
went to Univers. I volunteered at Univers. A friend was volunteering with an NGO called Play and Learn. I went there.
Okay.
There was this Gusa Games. I volunteered. I was doing everything. And so,
Yeah.
of course, when you are doing your CV, you have to tailor it to the program. That's why not everything you have done you
Exactly.
place in your, because I had done a lot of things, but you don't, as an undergrad and somebody just completed your bachelor's, you don't have to have like a 5-page CV. What have you done?
You Bob. Yeah.
People who have 5 pages are those like professors and things who have supervised thesis. So they have a list
Yeah.
of their students. That is
Yeah.
it. But then one thing I also did with my Europass. Did you use the Europass CV?
Yes. Yes. That was
One
what I.
one thing I did was I took my thesis, my long essay, and I put
Mhm.
my GPA. So just
Mm.
immediately. But yes, so
Uh-huh.
with the
Yeah.
Erasmus program, some programs will say, okay, we are using the Europass CV format. I think
Yeah.
I would do a video and then I'll just show people how to, because it was
Yeah.
really tricky. I had to watch videos to be able to
Yeah.
finalize
Actually,
everything.
actually, in the application, they indicated that the CV should follow the Europass format. Yeah, they actually indicated it that you
Yeah.
have to. And I think the Europass format is actually easier because, well, I felt it was easier because you just have to do your profile and then you create the CV from the profile and then you just do some editings then.
Check the templates. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Europass
then
is very easy.
that's true. And then you mentioned another thing, and I felt like I should. So about your long essay, at some point I felt like, oh, media, the masters, I'm not sure I'm going to do something because I didn't do long essay, like
Um,
away from that thing. And then in the application, they stated that you have to a writing sample. So I was like, hey, so me that I didn't do long essay, what do I do? Whenever I speak to people, they're like, yeah, present your long essay. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't do long essay. So one of my colleagues was also applying to a school in Georgia. And I was talking to him. I didn't tell him I was applying for something and they wanted a sample, but I was talking to him. I was like, so if you're applying for this thing that you're doing and they ask for a sample, right, what would you provide? And he was like, but I did long essay, so I'll provide my long essay. And I was like, what if you don't have long essay? And then he mentioned something like, oh, I feel like these people, they just want to know if you can write like a research paper or if you can do anything close to it. So even if you've written 10 papers or anything that is between 10 pages to 20 pages, you can present it. And I was like, oh, nice. Because I did philosophy and archaeology, and I have a lot of 10 papers in philosophy. So even though philosophy and archaeology has nothing in common, at least it will show them that me too have done some research.
Yes, yes.
What I did was I presented one of my philosophical papers. Yes. I presented one of my philosophical, the one that I had the best grade in. I
Of course.
presented the
Hey.
summary, and then here I am. I mean, now I am convinced they were actually not really looking at the content of the sample writing, but they were looking at how good you are when it
Yes, your
comes
ability to write, because they're going to give you funding. They're going to
to exactly,
pay for your scholarship. So they want to know if you can write and you can
exactly,
learn. So of course
exactly.
you have your grades and all, but that one is to check your writing skill. Maybe somebody wrote your
Yeah,
motivation for you, but that term paper or that
yeah,
long essay, it was your work. And so yeah,
yeah,
it's good you
yeah.
brought that up, because people think that, oh, if I didn't do a long essay, then oh, there's no hope for me. But that
You
is not
get
the
it.
case. That's not the case at all. You can send, and some of them are specific. You want long essay. So that is why I
Ah,
also say people can email. this selection committee, they are not wicked people. They are people like us. So if you
Exactly.
have any problem, just send them an email and ask for clarification. They are going to give you information about that. Sometimes I know
Yes.
people who have written emails and they got the application fees waived. They didn't have to pay their
Yeah.
fees because they sent an email and explained their condition, their
Yeah.
circumstance. So that is another thing. People should, if you have questions, of course, you don't just go ask silly questions, but if you have like a genuine problem, you can email them and they are going to
That's
respond.
true.
You just have to
That's
find the right email and send the email.
that's
So
true. Very
yes,
true.
I'm very grateful you spoke about the motivation letter, spoke about your CV, and then also how the program aligns to you, your past academic and professional background. It is
Yeah.
really, really good. And one thing I like about our department is that we get a chance to do that excavation. We go for the level 400 excavation. You can
Yeah.
put inside that you've engaged in this excavation, you've
Yeah.
done this project, and this is what you found and all. For
That's
me,
true.
for me, we found like skeletal remains. Of course, it was inside my motivation. Like, I placed it inside. Oh, no joking. So it's good we've spoken about the scholarship, and there's a lot of things we can talk about. But I want us to shift our attention to how the semester has. Because for me, I've been telling you that like that first semester, it was like they were beating me. Honestly, it was so overwhelming, and there's this shock to have this knowledge of how school works from where you're
Mm.
coming from. When you come to
Yes.
Europe and you're just hit with this new way of learning and this new concept, and especially from somebody who is coming from the social sciences, going like straight into science, and that's that whole thing. Like, how was the process for you that first semester? Would you tell us how it was for you? I've shared that my own was
Hmm.
but then yes.
So, the thing is, well, I knew that eventually the program was going to involve some kind of science because
Mhm.
of material science. But I didn't know, like, I was even going to be in the chemistry department. Like, so, I think because of visa issues and all that, I I started my semester online. And
Mhm.
then already, because I had already asked you, you told me, oh, you should learn this, the periodic table and things. So I had already started like small studies. So I think moving forward, maybe I would advise other people that in case you apply for a program and you know someone who is already in the program, utilize them. Okay, like make use of use your resources available. So I was already I was going to meet like chemistry stuff. So I had already started reading my chemistry things. And then we started a class. And online, at some point, the classes could begin at 9 o'clock and it will end at 6 p.m. with only 1 hour break.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
was between 12 and 1.
Mhm. That was
I was doing,
lunch break.
I was doing the course online.
Hmm.
So imagine those who were in class at that moment, like in Portugal at that moment, like you'll be sitting down for all these hours and it wasn't gonna be. But the funny thing with online studies, you can just put the camera on and everything and then go and do other things, come back, sit down. So that was what I was using the museum. So I make sure nobody is inside, but if people are inside, they minimize their voices. And sometimes when they enter, I don't need to tell them that they should minimize their voice because they figure out someone is doing something online. So they just minimize their voices and all. So first of all, I was using the internet there and it was cool. But the time, so me, if I'm hungry, I just get up, go and eat. If I'm tired, I go out, go and talk and do other things and I come and sit down
Mhm.
until finally time for me to go. And now when I landed in Portugal, Dorothy, you cannot imagine. Like I started growing lame. Like I, started- I thought, oh, I'm traveling abroad. I'm going to be a fine girl. And then and then I get to Portugal and like they are just bombarding me with electrons.
Oh.
And like, oh no, it was not really easy like that because sometimes you have to go to class for like 4 hours and then but the good thing is sometimes the professors would ask, do you want to go for a break? 10 minutes. Okay, let's go for a break, 10 minutes, and then And then one thing I've also realized is that now, you know, in Ghana, like, well, the educational system I've been through, sometimes they teach you in exams, you can just chew everything and then you go to the exam, then you can just pour
Or it's
everything
for
and
them.
challenge
Yeah.
you are good. But over here, like the diagrams self are important like that. Like I remember in my chemistry exam, like there were lots of diagrams and you have to identify what is going on. Okay, in this, what is happening? You will see a diagram and you will see one small dot up there, and then the question will be like, what is that dot? What does that dot represent? How does dot get there? And you are like, I didn't sign up for this one, no. But so the most important thing is, I think with the European kind of education, whatever they are teaching you, they're not really teaching you to chew it and come and pour it back for them, but they need you to understand the concept and then know how you're going to really apply the concept. So yes, easy the first semester at all. I grew in, but and at some point I felt like everything was like compacted because sometimes even after exam, I know in Ghana we have like 1 week full of revision. So you have to revise and then the following week is just exam. But in Portugal, there was no week for revision. No. You are still going for the classes and you like sometimes you go for a class, you close 6 o'clock, you have exam. The next day you have a class. The next day you have a field trip. Like so if you don't really manage your time well, like you will suffer. You will really feel like I suffered because I grew late. And I felt like, yeah, that was an indication of suffering. But
Oh,
yeah,
well,
it was
yeah.
good. And it shaped
Because
my mentality.
yes, that's the thing. When you study abroad, you get to experience these other things, and then it makes you appreciate where you are coming
Yes.
from, and also appreciate their system. She was a bit easy because I feel that in Ghana, our inter science was really helpful because
Yeah.
that did not help. Like I don't know how I was going to manage that semester. So yes, people feel like okay, you've come here, and I remember posting pictures, and people were like, Dorothy, you said that you are not outside. Why are you slim? You don't know. You're
Don't
going,
know what is
you're
going.
going for class from morning to evening. This is the
Yeah.
reality. People do not know. They feel like okay, you come abroad, start chilling. No,
Yeah.
you're studying. Once in a while, just post one picture, and they're like, oh wow, you're looking good. But out of all of those pictures, there are ones that I was looking so terrible because of stress. So
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I wanted us to highlight these points because your first semester, especially changing from one system of studying to another,
It's not easy.
yes, there's the reality that it's going to be a bit difficult. But then you just have
Yeah.
to know that you are among the excellent students,
Yeah.
from all parts of the world. You are part of the excellent students. You know, our
Exactly.
coordinator says he's looking for excellent students. So
Yeah.
if you manage to be there and you are part of them,
Yeah.
so you don't have to give up. You don't have to give up. And also,
Exactly.
there's this thing about people think grades. In Ghana, grades were everything. Like you want to do your best. But here it's like you notice that they are not really focused on the grade. They want to make sure you understand what they are saying. And you can make
Yeah.
practical use of
Yeah.
the information they are giving. So yes,
Yes.
so that
Mhm.
is with the semester. With finding accommodation, how difficult was it? And this will be one of the last things we'll be talking about. How difficult was it to find accommodation? Because for me, the first days I had to stay in a hostel.
Mm-hmm.
While I was staying there, I was well before I came, I was talking to a landlady. And so
Yes.
I think she wanted me to come and see the place before I make any payments.
Oh, okay.
So and then yes, people should not, if you're looking for accommodation, don't send money. Don't send money before you get there. If you send any money, use it through booking.com. It's better to stay in a hostel and then get the chance to go
Yeah,
and see the place. And make sure you like it before you do any payment.
true.
So for me, I was in a hostel for like a week and then I found accommodation, so I moved in. But how was the whole thing for you?
Yeah. So most of the time, I feel like maybe in this whole world, I am part of the luckiest people. My finding accommodation wasn't really a big deal for me. Because first of all, I went on Facebook because I watched your YouTube videos and all. So I went on Facebook, I started looking, but I wasn't so convinced because I mean it was my first time looking for rent, like accommodation on Facebook. So I wasn't really okay with the process. And then I saw another one, P Corto, B Corto. It's a yeah. So I went there and I saw a lot of listings. And then I kept sending them messages that, hello, I would be coming to Portugal in this month. And I want to, some of them actually wanted payments. Like some of them were like, okay, the place is available, you pay this. And then, but because I watched your videos, I was like, no, I don't want to. And besides, it was expensive. Like I was in Ghana, for God's sake. I mean, sending money to Europe, that would mean a lot of money. So I was like, so I found one. I sent her a message, and then instead of writing me back on the website, she rather sent me an email saying, "Oh, I am happy this," and then she sent me a Google link, no, a Google Map link to the house, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then she gave me her WhatsApp number. We started texting, and I mean, it was like around August. No, it was like July.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was not even sure I was getting the scholarship and I had already secured accommodation. And it was around July thereabouts. And I told her I would be coming in September.
Mm-hmm.
And September, I was still not in Portugal. October, I was not in Portugal. So what I was doing was every time I text her, hello, I am still interested in your house. So please keep it for me. And she'll be like, okay, for me, you would come. And eventually I had to go to Portugal on the 20th of November. And the room was still there waiting for me.
Oh,
Yes, and she came to the bus stop to come help me pick up my stuff to the house and everything. So I felt like my accommodation wasn't really much of a big deal because the only thing I had to do was to just keep reminding her that, hello, I'm still interested. I will still be coming. My visa is having a bit of a challenge, but I will still come. And it was easy like that. So I think I don't really have much to say about accommodation because, yeah, I am part of the luckiest people in this world. So,
so yes, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Do you have any like final words? We have like 6 minutes.
yes, yes, I have like a final word, like 2 minutes. So I know there are some times that people get to know that, yes, you are studying abroad. And people, I know Ghana is hard and the educational system is some way. So we want to have the experience abroad and then apply it when we come back to Ghana. And so whenever people get to know that you are outside doing something, they want to seek for advice from you. But I feel like the way they go about it, it's something else. Like, I mean, one time I had a message, a WhatsApp text that, hello, Akosia, can you send me your motivational letter? I want to write my motivational letter. Like, if you want to write your motivational letter, ask me. Okay, how do I go about it? I will teach you. I mean, I even told her that I can hold a Zoom session and then we can discuss it. But she was so bent on me sending her my motivational letter, which I mean, I don't really feel comfortable sending you my motivational. I feel like I should rather help you to do it. You get it? And then there was another time this lady, lady messaged me that yeah, so she wants to go and study abroad and she knows I'm doing archaeology and she wants to come and do archaeology too. And I'm like, okay, so what background are you from? She said business admin. I know she is a business admin student. I intentionally asked. And she told me admin. And I was like, okay, do you have any knowledge in archaeology? She said no. Have you seen any archaeology documentary? She said, like, you literally have no idea what I am doing, but you want to do it because you want to come to Europe. Why don't you look for a program that suits what you are so comfortable in? Why do you have to do something because you feel like it is easy and this person is doing it and all? So I feel like if you really, really want to apply for any opportunity, first of all, you must find something you resonate with, something that you are comfortable with, and something that if you are given the opportunity to express yourself about, you can really express yourself and convince someone why you really need it, not because someone is doing it and you feel it is easy to do it. And sometimes you need help, please allow the person to help. Don't tell us what you want. I want a motivational letter, give it to me. But, oh, Regina, I want you to help me with my motivational letter and things. Then I can help. Don't come to me saying you want my motivational letter and things, So, yeah. But, if you need any help, just come. But just know how yeah.
Yes, if you need any help, go to her.
Not money, not money.
Go to her, ask her for money, ask her for everything. She's willing
come
to
to money.
help you. She's willing to help you. We are balling in Europe. No, but it's true. It's true. The truth has to be said. And you've said it in the most sweetest and kindest way. I would have very the opposite direction. But then yes, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I hope our listeners get to learn a lot. We've spoken a lot. You have to listen to everything and then pick from it because it's full of wisdom. Reggie, thank you so much for your time. Big woman, our big madam.